Hey there, Adrian here. I thought that if you have been through the training offered by the library at University of Johannesburg on the use of EndNote, that it may be helpful just to get a little bit of a top-up from me based on just many years of using EndNote and trying to figure out how to do that cleanly and effectively. So most of what we covered with Katie Bone and their team at the library was great. And this, in a sense, is just a couple of tweaks that I'm hoping you will find helpful. So I'm going to screen share my screen here. Just give me half a sec to get that up. There we go. And that's what I'm, so let me just close that. So let's imagine that you are searching for an article and you're looking for something, and I'm going to use one of these articles that we see below. So left behind children, let's just search for that. And let's say that we are wanting to download this particular article over here just as a for example article. Okay, so not necessarily, it's just a fake one. Well, not a fake one, just a pretend one. So the easiest way to do this is a two-step process. The first is to use the Google Scholar import into EndNote, which you learned today, to get the reference into EndNote to start with. So click on that. That's a useful way to start. It's not always perfect, but usually it is. And like you see, it would pop up at the top. You click on that, and it will import it into your EndNote library. Now, the point that I was making in the group was to say, immediately the thing that you should do is run through this to see, is it correctly formatted? And one of the ways to make that a little bit easier is to actually go to the website, because if you're missing key information, like here, for example, we see there's no DOE number, we may want to go and pull that in from the journal. So I would go back to the page where we started, and then I would go to the actual website where this article is. Okay, it's going to ask for your username and password, and then it will take you through the university library's registration. You'll see here, University of Johannesburg's logo is showing there because we have access to this journal through the University of Johannesburg. And this is where the lean library might be a useful thing to add. It's this little LL that you see over there on the right of my screen. It's an extension. And so if you don't have that already, that might be something worth doing. So you would click on extension, which is showing there like a little puzzle piece. If you don't find it there, you could click on the menu item, and then somewhere there, you'll find extensions, and then you can manage extensions, and you could go look for Lean Library. Okay. That's if you're not seeing this UJ stuff here. What the UJ stuff should do is that, because here it's showing that this is now, in a sense, approved by UJ, you can actually view the PDF. So generally, if you were just a person off the street and you weren't registered at UJ and you didn't have a UJ student number, etc., you might not be able to access this article because it's not an open access journal. But when you have the UJ link, then it opens. You'll also see down here on the bottom left, this is another way of getting it in, where you can access the PDF. So there's kind of a couple of different options on how to get the PDF. If you prefer, instead of downloading the citation from Google Scholar, so let's just get back to Google Scholar. It looks like it's disappeared. Why has it disappeared? No, let's just do this. Yep, it has disappeared. Not sure why that is. My screen seems to be closing quite a bit. Let's just pop that back in. Just want to get back to, sorry, living with migration. Okay, so this was the article that we were looking at. Instead of importing the article here from Google Scholar, you could instead just click straight onto this link, which will take you to this page, and then you can download the citation here. Okay. But when you're in this place, you need to just read what's on screen. Don't just race ahead. First of all, check that that is downloading the RIS file, which is for EndNote as it shows. And then this was the point I was making. Don't just cite the content, because the content below is just that very, very short line. What we also want is the abstract, right? We don't generally need the references, but we do want the abstract. So we would actually rather follow this particular format. And then we download that version. And there it is. It's a TANDF, right? So it's Taylor and Francis citation. So if I click on that, it opens up a slightly different version. And what you should be able to see here compared to the previous one is, for example, the DOE number is there, right? The title is now in capital letters, which it wasn't before. But what we do have is the volume issue and the page number. So let me just take you over here to all my references. And I want you just to see, we now have two versions of this article. Do you see there? I've got two versions of this article. This one is the one that came from Google Scholar. And we see that in some ways it's better because it has the full title plus the subtitle. It has the journal, it has the volume, the issue, the page numbers, and so on. What it doesn't have is the DOE. If we look at this version, which came from the publishers, the title is incomplete and it's in capital letters. But what we do have is the DOE number. What we also have here is that we have the abstract, okay? Whereas if we go and look at this one from Google Scholar, chances are we don't have an abstract. So you're kind of weighing up your options here a little bit. Google Scholar has some advantages, and then the publishers have some advantages. And the point that I'm making is that as soon as you do the import, now is the time that you want to decide what you're going to do, and you want to get your reference formatted correctly. So let us start with this one, this first one that we imported, which is the one from Google Scholar. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip backwards and forwards between this page and the article. And this is where you actually want to go to the publisher's website because you want to get the details of the article. So I'm going to go back over here so that I've got this. Now, even though in the article that's written in capital letters, we would still never do that in EndNote or in an APA reference. And so this format that we have here is correct. It's a lowercase except for the first word is uppercase. The first word after a colon is uppercase, and any proper noun like Philippines is uppercase. We do notice that the journal title is in lowercase. Journal titles should always be formatted in title case. It's the only title that should be formatted in title case. All other titles, a title of an article, a book, a chapter, everything else is in lowercase. We've got the volume, we've got the issue, we've got the page numbers, we're missing the DOE. So I'm going to go back to the website. There's the DOE. When we select the DOE, we don't want that whole thing. And you see where I am here, just under the title. We don't want the https://doe.org. All we want is the number 10 and onwards. Every DOE number starts with a 10 point something. And that's what we want. So I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to go across to here, and I'm going to paste it in there. Then I'm going to scroll down and see what else is missing. I want keywords and I want abstract. Keywords and abstract help you to search. So here's the abstract. I select it, copy it, I go here, and I drop it in. Keywords, I'm now moving quickly. I'm using keyboard. It's not old-fashioned because I grew up so long ago. So I'm using Alt-Tab to move between these two programs. Press Alt, touch Tab, and it'll take you back to this website. Here are the keywords. So I'm going to copy them just like that. And then again, I'm going to use Control-C. If you don't have Control-C, just right-click and go copy. I'm Alt-tabbing. I'm going back here. I'm going to paste my keywords in. You see it's now all kind of smushed together, a bit messy, right? So I'm going to go Family Philippines, type Enter. Children of Migrants, Philippines, Enter. Impact of Migration, Philippines, Enter. Socialization of Children, Philippines, Enter. Care Work, Philippines. So now I know it's all in red. I don't quite know. There's a reason why it does it. I don't actually know why. But you can see my keywords are nice. I've got the full abstract there. That makes it easy if I want to search in my own library. And I've got my DOI, I've got my page numbers, issue, volume, title, the author's right. I'm not sure what this MB is, so I want to go and check what that is because it doesn't make sense to me. And I see it is initials, right? So Maruja is their first name, MB is their middle name, Assis is their surname. So I'm just double checking that is correct. But MB is going to read, EndNote is going to read it as M. It's going to ignore the B because it's going to think that the second name, this person's second name is MB. And so I'm going to put a space there so that we know that that's actually 3 separate names. And then I'm going to click save. Okay. If I was working with this version, and this is the version we got off the website, I would immediately go and I would correct that, right? So I would retype that, living with migration. And then I would delete what's left. And then I would go and pick up the subtitle because I know that that's missing. I'm going to go pick up the subtitle, copy, go back, paste. Right. We know that all of those things there, right? Here, the initials are correctly formatted. It is marked as a journal article. You always want to just check that it's the right reference type. The DOI number is great. We have the abstract. That looks good. What we don't have the keywords, so I'm not going to redo that, but you saw how I did that just now. As soon as I click save, have a look, keep your eye over there. As soon as I click save, you'll see, boom, that's correct now. Okay. So I've got 2 copies of the same thing. I don't really want that, so I'm going to just delete one because I don't need both. But what I do still want is the PDF. So I'm going to go back to this page. You've got a couple of options. The one is you can click up there, okay, and you can click Access Article from here. Another is to go down there and click View PDF, and you can see it's automatically going there. It's trying to see if it can find it. There it is. It's come up. That's really, really nice. I actually haven't used this one for a little while. And now I can click the download button, which is that little down arrow there. Okay, so I can download it. And you'll see it's now saved it. And I can open it in the folder. It's here in my downloads folder. There it is, Assis 2006. And what you would do, multiple ways, but just kind of click, drag, go to EndNote, and then just take it over here and drop it anywhere on the right, or drop it on the left here at the article. Okay, let it go, click save. And now when we go to the top and we go to summary, there we can see there's the PDF Assis. And if I click PDF here, it'll just give me a screenshot. If I want to actually read it, the easiest way is just to open it, right? And I like to open it with Adobe Acrobat because it's a little more. If you open it here, it'll open it in EndNote, right? It has limited functionality. But if you open it with Acrobat, it'll open it in Acrobat and you get a far more helpful. You can really search nicely. So if I want to search for left behind, for example, and I want to see how often does that word come up, right? And you can see it's come up there 32 times, and I can start to kind of look for how they've used this term left behind children. And now that reference is ready. The other thing to just make sure of is that you've selected APA 7, because that's mostly what we use in most social work journals. All the psychology journals are using APA. So Harvard is very seldom used in social work. It's used in sociology, but not in social work. And what I'm going to do here is I just want to check, because that's what it will look like in my reference list. And I want to see, is it looking correct? And I've got surname, I've got the 3 names of the initials, title case of the article is correct. Do you see population studies is still in lowercase? I immediately picked that up. My eyes tuned in for that. So I'm going to go back to edit. And this is a good learning opportunity. Isn't that strange? Here it's correct, right? And here in the summary, it's made it lowercase. Now, this is EndNote trying to be helpful in a very unhelpful way. It doesn't often happen, but when it does, you're always like, why is it doing that? Because I keep going back and I'm like, it's right. So when you see that happening, what EndNote is doing is that it is trying to fix stuff for you that doesn't need to be fixed. Sometimes it's a helpful fix and other times it's not. This time it's not. So I go to, give me a sec because it always takes me a little while to find this. I go to Library and I go to Open Terms Lists and I go to Journal Term List. Okay, so when you find that EndNote is changing an author or a journal or a keyword, you click Library on the menu, go to Open Term Lists, and then select, in this case, Journal Term List. And what this does is it'll open up, in my case, it's got 1,606 journals. And one of them is this Asian journal. So I'm just going to look for it. And there you see it's forcing this journal to be in lowercase. Can you see that? It's got a small p and a small s. And what we want over here is a capital P and a capital S. So I'm just going to delete that term because it's not helpful. Delete it. It's now gone. If I go back and I look for Asian, you'll see there is Asian, but not Asian population studies. So I click close. And now when I go back to summary, I think I must just save. No, maybe I must just move off and come back. That's sometimes the way. Now you see it's now fixed at the bottom. Do you notice? It's now P and S for population studies is now uppercase. I've got my volume, I've got my issue, I've got my page numbers, I have my DOE. It's formatting it now with the HTTPS. The reason why I say only copy from the number 10 is that if you use another style like, let me see if I can find Chicago, I think, no, Chicago does the same. I'm just going to go and try to find something that uses a different format. So let me just go search for Harvard. Okay. Nope, it's also not including it. But sometimes there are styles that will format it differently. It will not use the HTTPS. It may just say DOE colon and then 10, right? So it may do that. And each reference will decide how it wants DOE numbers to be formatted. All right. So I hope that this is just a useful little top up on what we have done before. You may want to work through this a couple of times just to make sure that you have it down pat. All right. Cheers. Have fun with EndNote.